All right, yeah, I hit record again. Yeah, well, last thing we were talking about is Brent had to leave the house so he could go break into his neighbor's house, totally legally. He had to do a B&E.
Hello, and welcome to the Games That Made Us. I'm Brent. I'm here with my friend Kirk. Say hi, Kirk.
Dajbu desk at my hot dog waters.
What the fuck?
Yeah, I think last time I said, like, Guten Tag, mein Leben, so I'm gonna get weird with it going forward.
Okay.
Yeah, might just turn into gibberish, but it's fine.
Yeah, hey, gibberish is cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, today we are going to be talking about golf, which is a subject that... Well, actually, this is a good question. Kirk, are you a golfer?
Fuck no, and really fuck anybody who belongs to a country club.
Okay.
Leave it to white people to, like, take a sport and then make it totally inaccessible to everybody else.
Yeah. No, that feels on par. That feels right. On par. See what I did there?
I didn't, and you should feel ashamed.
Okay. Well, I do most of the time, but that's the Catholic upbringing. That's nothing to do with this specifically.
Well, Brent, are you a golfer?
So I've been golfing a couple of times. I've really enjoyed it. I really like putt-putt, though. Like, putt-putt is kind of my speed.
Yes. Yep.
I am a fat old man, and roughly 30 feet between the pin and the tee is about right for me.
Putt-putt, mini golf, all yeah, that's totally
Yeah.
my jam. I used to love driving ranges, but now I'm just like, it's one of those things where if my backswing isn't correct, I'll pull everything in my body and I'll be out for multiple days.
Yes.
But that's kind of how it is getting older. Like, I sneeze and pull something inside my body, and then I won't sleep for like 3 days.
Yeah.
So golf is like one of those. Better not. That's a stupid reason to get injured.
You hurt yourself and you're like, oh, okay, I'm out for a week, and what I did was sit wrong. Putt-putt super like slept on as a date night, by the way.
Well, what you drinking over there, buddy?
So I have a Oscar Blues, Mas Lima, Cerveza.
Another Oscar Blues, right?
I love Oscar Blues. They're awesome.
And I got myself a nice cider from the Glacial Till Winery from somewhere out in eastern Nebraska.
Okay.
Really great place. I'm just trying to branch out a bit.
Is that the joint that you guys sent the pictures from on Discord when you were out that way, and like it was like the all wood interior?
Yeah. I've been out to that winery only twice, but
okay,
it's always a delight anytime I get to travel around the Midwest and hit up various wineries and just see what they have to offer. The wife and I have turned into winos over the years, and because doctor wants me to lose weight, so I can't just be drinking beer all the time. So.
Well,
I'll get into the fancier things with the wife.
We went and did the tour of all the Kansas City wineries for our anniversary. So get down.
You gave away your position. Who cares?
Yeah.
Yeah, you'll let all of our fan know where you live.
Yeah. Oh no, all of our fan, all of our both fan,
all of our fan.
All right. So today we're going to be talking about two of our favorite golf games: Neo Turf Masters for the Neo Geo, which is one of my very favorite games, and Kirby's Dream Course for the Super Nintendo. And what I think we should probably do is talk about Neo Turf Masters first, because I think it's a little bit more bite-size of an experience. Kirby's Dream Course, I think, is a little bit more in-depth.
And and a little bit kind of what you were getting into. Like, Neo Turf Masters is obviously like a true-to-form golf game. Like, it's legit golf. Where Kirby's Dream Course, like it's called Kirby Bowl in Japan. I consider it a golf game because it's like all the same mechanics of any other actual golf game you would play.
Absolutely.
So it was always one of my favorites. I didn't have a lot of golf games growing up besides whatever was in the local bar, and my parents would give me quarters
like the
to just be quiet.
Tee.
Yeah, Golden Tee. That I just anything Kirby I love anyways. So when you're like golf games, I'm like, oh, I know which one.
Yeah, Kirby's adorable. I love Kirby. I am, as we were talking about, neither of us are really golfers, but there's something about golf video games that have always been really like comforting to me. They tend to mostly be really nice, like veg out, low-key de-stressors for me. I love Sid Meier's Sim Golf. If you've ever played that, it's like golf course designer that then you can go through and play. It's super fun. I love the games that we're talking about today. But yeah, there's something about like, even though I'm not really a golfer, there's something about coming home after a long day of work, cracking open a beer, and playing a golf video game that it speaks to my old fat white man.
Yeah, I'm right there with you because there's like no pressure.
Yes.
Even though you can hit like triple bogey or just like foul out or whatever on most golf games, you're like, oh no.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Oh.
How will I go on with my life?
My number went up by 2.
Shit.
Oh, it's so sad.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's start with Neo Turf Masters, which came out in 1996. It was developed by Nazca. Nazca, I think, is really cool. So they were a group of game developers who broke off from IREM, the R-Type people, and started making games for the Neo Geo. And initially, they were an independent studio, and then eventually SNK, the Neo Geo company, acquired them. And so you've got these like incredible designers, are mostly known as having worked on the R-Type series and the Metal Slug series. So like just balls to the wall, shoot 'em ups and run and guns. And then in the middle of their career, there's this one super chill golf game where it's just like jazzy music and a happy Japanese lady yelling at you about being on the green. And I love the complete change in tone of their whole trajectory that they go through. Like some of the most badass shooters of the late 80s and early 90s, and then it's Neo Turf Masters.
Yeah, it is quite the change from like just a shooter to just golf.
Yeah, golf. But yeah, so this game, how I kind of came into it, and maybe I should talk a little bit about my history with Neo Geo, because I think this really enters into it. So the Neo Geo, for those of you who don't know, was an arcade system that was developed in the early 90s by SNK, and the idea behind it was to create an arcade cabinet that would work a little bit like a home console, where it would have a cartridge that you could insert into it, and when you wanted to change the game, instead of, if you're an arcade operator, instead of having to go out and like buy a whole new arcade cabinet, you would just buy a new cartridge and insert it. And so it was a lot cheaper, it was a lot simpler, and it was just a way to kind of bring that convenience of the home console market to arcade operators. And what that meant is that they were fucking everywhere. For a while there, you'd see these big red Neo Geo cabinets all over, and they're mostly noted for their fighting games. Most people think of that system as King of Fighters, Fatal Fury, Samurai Showdown, like these big badass fighting games. But I am a wuss, and I don't particularly like fighting games. For me, it was the Neo Turf Masters system, and it was the Metal Slug system. And I played the shit out of those. And what's really fun about it is that a couple years into the run of the Neo Geo, they decided to convert Neo Geo arcade boards into a home console and just sell the straight up arcade machines to people to just bring home and hook into their TVs in the mid 90s, in an era when arcade conversions meant just absolutely trashing the game, just crushing it down and making it simpler and cheaper and shittier. All of a sudden, here was an arcade developer going, yeah, no, just here's the game. Like, just play the exact arcade game at home. And so it goes from being a cheap arcade board to being an insanely expensive home console. Like the Neo Geo AES was like $1,000. Individual games were like $200.
And that's $1,000 in the 90s too.
Right. Yeah, that's $1,000 in 1994, right? And there was a kid in my Boy Scout troop who actually had one. And I remember this kid was fucking crazy. He had like 3 Game Boys for no reason other than he wanted like different colors. And his parents were like, okay.
Yeah, it must be rough.
Yeah, right. Hard all over.
Yeah, all I had, it was like a piece of bread on a string to play with the squirrels.
Right. Well, my mom cut a hole in my pants, so I'd have something to play with. I remember like being over at his house for a Boy Scout meeting, and we went upstairs, and he had this briefcase-sized cartridge that he plugged into the fucking Neo Geo, and it was like, oh my god, you can play Samurai Showdown at home. And so I've had this, since then, I've had this like 20-year love affair with the idea of owning a Neo Geo. I don't, but I love them so much. And this game was one of the reasons why. It's super charming. It's a straight ahead golf game. There's nothing particularly to set it apart, which is, like I say, why I think this is the more bite-sized experience of the two games that we're going to talk about. It is a straight ahead golf game. You pick one of, I believe, six. It's six, right? Six different golfers.
6 or 7. It's
Yeah. And then you golf on one of the 4 courses. And it is really simple. It's just hitting one button for your power and hitting it again for your angle up or down. You can angle it left and right. The wind is a factor. The grain of the green is a factor. But it's just super simple and chill. And it has this wonderful, jazzy, goofy soundtrack that I absolutely love. And when we get to Metal Slug, you'll notice the similarities with the goofy voiceovers and the goofy, jazzy soundtrack. And it's like, oh, okay, this is the same people, even though it's a totally different kind of game. But yeah, it's really fun and simple. And it's my favorite come home, crack open a beer, and just de-stress game that I've ever run into. Yeah. So that's Neo Turf Masters for me. That's my experience with it. Kirk.
Yeah, you're spot on. Like, I had never even really heard about or cared to know about Neo Geo ever. That's just yeah, like they just didn't exist anywhere. When I grew up, like I really had no idea that Neo Geo even existed until probably the early to late 2000s or aughts, whatever you want to say. But you're absolutely spot on when you said it's really like just a no frills golf game. It's very chill. And going off of what I said, I didn't even know anything about the Neo Geo. This game is simple enough. I was able to pick it up, figure out how to play it in a hurry. And then they even give you like a little tutorial on how the game works as it's like booting up, kind of.
So that's one of my favorite parts about the Neo Geo is every Neo Geo game is like that. When you boot into the Neo Geo, it shows into
has
a
how
game.
To play.
Yeah, it pops up and it'll show, okay, like this is what the stick does and this is what because they're all 4-button games. Yep. It'll show what each of the 4 buttons does. Thinking back to the early to mid 90s, that I wish every game in that era had that, because there was so often, as we learned last time with Legend of the Mystical Ninja, there's so often when you'd play a game and totally miss a key feature.
Yeah. Luckily, this golf game doesn't hide anything like that in plain sight, so to speak. Yeah, it was I thought it was a blast the entire time.
Yeah,
it was a very simple game. I played all 4 courses.
Right.
And that's America, Germany, Japan, and Australia.
Yeah.
Yep. I played each one of those courses with at least 2 different golfers each time. I mostly played with either the American or the German.
I always play as the German.
Yeah, the German guy really is the best one.
Yeah.
And I absolutely love that the American guy.
Hang on. Hold the thought about the American guy. What's up, babe?
So sorry.
Hey, y'all. Future Brent here. Just a quick editor's note. At this juncture, our neighbors called and asked if we could please come over to their house and tear the door handle off the hinges. They had some issues with their locks, and they were out of town, and so they were trying to have someone come by to check on their dogs. So in the middle of the podcast, I went out with a crowbar and ripped the handle off of our neighbor's door. So if it sounds a little weird from here on out, it is, because I was feeling a little nervous that I'd just committed, maybe a felony. So that was cool. Anyway, back to our regularly scheduled programming.
Let's brainstorm for a sec. Where did we end off? No, we were talking about the characters, and or you're asking for my opinion on it.
Yeah.
Okay. I usually played with either the American or the German, or both.
Right.
I did dabble with the other characters, although not so much because the other characters are really bad.
Yes.
But
yes.
It did crack me up how the American character is the most basic bitch vanilla character of
just straight
all.
Down the middle on everything.
Yeah, so the characters each have like a skill set as far as like driving, accuracy, putting, etc.
Right.
The American is like level on all of them.
Like he's
like,
right down the center of the
talent threshold, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
So he is the safest person to utilize, which I thought was
yeah, he is super white bread.
The German is great because
he's so overpowered.
Yeah, he has wonderful driving and very, very good accuracy.
And when he gets an eagle, a very questionable.
Yeah, so there's a little celebration kind of animations, or more so like bumper splash screens.
Right.
When you get par, bogey, whatever. And the German, when he gets an eagle, he throws his arm out triumphantly. And I had a bit of a problem with that. It was in a fist instead of a flat hand, but still, it's one of those like, whoa!
It's a little questionable. It is also, it's always worrying when you're playing a game developed in Japan.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh yeah, the German guy's just so great and everything. And I'm like, should I be okay with this?
Yeah.
Is this something I should be cool with?
And he totally has a Willem Dafoe thing going on that I dig.
Yeah.
Play the game and tell me he doesn't look like Willem Dafoe. But it's some of the stats of the other characters are bad. Like the Japanese guy has like amazing putting skills, but it's like he is shit everywhere else.
Right.
I played with him and I had to quit and start over because he was just that bad.
Yeah, because you can't get it to the green.
Yeah, and it's not like
you can't get it on the green.
Yeah, yeah. So the adorable Japanese announcer, like Brent was saying, is one of the better parts of the game.
Nazca didn't have the kind of budget to have actual English language people come in and do the voiceover. So it's somebody who's just doing it phonetically, which actually eventually we're going to cover Metal Slug, which because I love that game and that whole series. And there's a long-running joke because every time you pick up a weapon in Metal Slug, the announcer yells it. He's like, machine gun!
Yeah.
When you get a rocket launcher, he says, rocket launcher! It's like, I didn't know that you could fire lawn chairs at people.
What is it in Neo Turf Masters? Like, right out of the gate, it's like, where they're using a lot of extra words for no reason. I think he says something along the lines of, please select game, or...
Please select the type of your play.
Yeah, please select the type of your play, or please select the type of your game. And it's like, just say, please select game type or something.
Right, like...
That is everywhere in that game. And but it adds to the charm, though. I can't help but giggle every time.
Well, and...
when it switches over to the lady, and she's like, Birdie!
The male announcer is clearly going for the guy who used to do the in a world, like that guy. Trailer
La Fontaine.
Yeah. It's so weird and charming. Like, Baden National Golf Course, Germany. And you're like, okay, you can take it down like 6 notches.
Yeah,
my bud.
It goes from La Fontaine to cute Japanese girl really fast.
Right.
Player 1.
Yeah, but I remember like being in college and just feeling utterly defeated for one reason or another, and pulling up the ROM for Neo Turf Masters and purposefully shooting out of bounds like 6 times just so I could hear the little announcer go, Player 1 had a bad day. Like I did.
Yeah.
Player 1 did have a bad
I think
day.
that's what Kirby Golf needed to make it just that extra little thing. It just needed someone to just make fun of you for doing poorly if you were doing poorly.
My favorite is always to pick the German guy, and they give them these like weird dystopian future names. They're like the technician.
Yeah. What's the German, like Power Shot or something like that? Or and the Americans like the Young Hero or something.
Yeah, the Young
like,
Hero.
Come on, man.
And I'm like, that's amazing. But I love playing as the German and playing on Baden, the German course, because the music is just so like goofy and fun and jazzy.
Really, you like Baden? You like the music of that course? I hated that. That was my least favorite one. Japan is my favorite.
Japan's super fun.
Favorite course soundtrack. Germany was really just, I thought it was just kind of boring. It sounded like just elevator music is what.
Well, I think that's right. I think that's perfect.
It like elevator music.
I come to different games for different things. Like if I'm angry, I have my shoot 'em ups that I go do.
Yep. You play Doom and you just crank that shit when you're feeling angry, and
yes,
that soundtrack slaps.
Yes, 100%. But when I've had just a dog shit day and I want to feel like I'm cradled in the lap of this giant, sweet Japanese woman who's just rubbing my hair and telling me it's all going to be all right, it's Neo Turf Masters for me. And the Germany course is just that little jazzy soundtrack for that. Just taking like 3 Quaaludes and just drifting off to sleep, but in video game form, and I love it.
Now, you need to play the German soundtrack of their golf course, and then compare it to Invader Zim when Gur is doing elevator music.
Yes.
It sounds exactly the same.
It does.
Equipment room! Now, Gur! Do the dance! No, Gur, no dance! Just obey me! Yes! No! Gur!
No,
Now,
but yeah, I mean, it's a light, fun romp of a game. I wanted something to talk about, particularly with our next episode that we're going to do. I wanted something for this one that would be just really chill. And Neo Turf Masters is really chill and fun and light.
And we did play this 2-player too. Well, we played it by ourselves to get a full feel of the game. And I had never played it before. So I needed that exposure to it. And then we played it, 2-player against each other or with however you want to describe it. But I mean, either way, it's still very chill. It's a really fun time. And really a lot of these golf games are really kind of meant to play with a friend.
Absolutely.
They're just that extra little bit of fun when you're playing with a friend.
And I think honestly, I think that's pretty much all we need to say about Neo Turf Masters. It's not a huge experience. It's a bite-sized experience. It's an arcade game. It's meant to just play in 5 to 10 to 15 minute chunks and throw a couple quarters in it, play with a friend, have a couple beers. It's great at that. But the game that we played for this episode that I think had a little bit more meat on the bone, yours, which was Kirby's Dream Course. And I didn't know if you wanted to introduce that for us.
Kirby's Dream Course actually got introduced to me from another friend of ours. I had never heard of it, never played it until, honestly, my college, if not post-college years. They brought it up to me, and I'm like, the hell are you talking about? They kind of showed me some videos, and then we he had bought the cart, and we played it together. Usually either high or drunk.
Yeah.
You pick one. That was my first exposure to the game. I really don't know that much. I think it was, 1996 is when it came out.
1994.
1994.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a Kirby game, so I don't really know what kind of history you really need to know about it, except that it's a Kirby game and they're all almost exclusively adorable.
Right. Yeah. So it's a Kirby game. So it's HAL Laboratories, which, if you don't know, is kind of second party Nintendo is how they describe it. It's kind of like Game Freak, which is not the Pokemon company. They're both owned by Nintendo, and a lot of the kind of key people in Nintendo, like, for example, Satoru Iwata, who was their president for a while until his passing a couple years ago, came through HAL. But yeah, so it's a Kirby game. HAL Laboratories. It's super cute.
And it's a golf game, but it's unique in the way that, well, it's Kirby for one, but any other golf game you play to this day, or even classic ones like Mario Golf for the Nintendo 64, always give you that stereotypical viewpoint, which is honestly still the best viewpoint for a golf game, is when it's the same way as if you're to watch golf on TV, is
Right.
when you're just kind of right behind the golfer and you watch him swing and hit the ball. Kirby's Dream Course is not like that at all.
No.
You play as Kirby, usually in a ball, on this 3D kind of top-down course, well, at an angle to give it more depth.
Yeah, it's isometric.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like Zelda.
Yep. And then they will give you little hit indicators of where it's predicting your path to go.
Right.
And but it has all the other same mechanics as any other golf game. But instead of giving you that behind view all the time, it's more of like a game board or like a
Right.
board game board game kind of style.
I didn't think about it that
Yeah.
way, but yeah, because it does, and it even has like that checkerboard look to
Yes,
it.
absolutely.
It really does kind of feel like a board game. That's a
Yep.
really good way of putting it. I
And
hadn't thought of
in
that.
Kirby's Dream Course, you don't have to. Well, there is a traditional hole at the end,
Mhm.
but the hole will move based off of
I'll
the
show you my
different
traditional
objectives.
hole
Like
later.
you have to hit every. Yeah,
Yeah.
you have to hit every enemy that's on the board. It stays in place,
Right.
and to collect stars. Stars will give you points, and the last enemy.
The last enemy you hit becomes the hole.
Yeah, it becomes the hole. So it could really
Right.
be anywhere. Well, it has great replayability because of that. Because the
Right.
hole could technically be in a different spot every single time on the exact same course.
Because of our experience last episode,
Mm-hmm.
and because of my phobia that I'm going to carry with me for the rest of my life, that I deeply misunderstood a Super Nintendo game,
Mm-hmm.
I went and looked up the manual for
Mhm.
Kirby's Dream Course. Have you ever taken a look at this?
No.
Oh my god, it's fantastic. That's your homework assignment from this episode, is go read the Kirby's Dream Course manual, because it gives a full RPG-esque, oh no, King Dedede came in and he stole the stars, and now only Kirby can save Dreamland by going and collecting the stars through this game that the devious King Dedede like set up. And it's like, it's golf, motherfuckers.
Yeah,
Like,
it's golf.
this is, you're playing this up so much. It's so 80s dark fantasy. What if golf was the Dark Crystal? I'm like, this is amazing.
Yeah.
But yeah, so yeah, as you were saying, you can, through your play, decide where the hole is. And I really loved that. As wild as this game gets later on, it does make it so that every hole in the whole game can be played 100 different ways.
Mm-hmm. Playing it alone is fun in and of itself.
Yeah.
It is way better with two people. Because part of the mechanic is, we referenced earlier how you have to hit all the enemies to make the hole appear. And
Right.
the last enemy is where the hole will appear. Well, if you're playing two-player against each other, where the previous enemies you hit will leave stars. Yeah, you're already laughing.
I didn't know this
Yeah.
until we played earlier
so
today.
the character
And fuck
who-
you for that, by the way.
Yeah, well, eat my ass. That's what you get for not understanding how Super Nintendo games work, you fucking show.
Oh no.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
came up
yeah,
again.
that's what happens. Bitches get stitches.
Oh no.
Yeah. So you hit an enemy and he turns into a star, and the star turns into the corresponding color of the character who hit that enemy. However, like let's say Brent gets it and it turns in the game it's pink, and because he's player 1.
Right.
And I can come around and all I have to do is touch that star and it turns yellow, which is player 2. So
Right.
I get that star. So this game has that extra mechanic where it doesn't matter who gets into the hole first. It's who has the most stars by the time somebody gets into the hole.
Yes.
So while Brent can go ahead and just get into the hole and finish the round, but if I am kind of falling behind him and taking all of the stars from the characters he hit, I can win even though he got into the hole first.
So there's so many little nuances to this game that I loved, because yeah, at the end of the day, golf is golf. Like every golf game, whether it's the latest Tiger Woods or, oh, by the way, did you know how these people made an NES golf game? I need to go play that and see if there's any connection between that and Kirby. I found that out while I was researching for this, but regardless of whether it's like an Atari era golf game or something that came out last year, golf is golf. The thing that I thought was magical about magical Kirby's Dream Course. No, but the thing that was magical about this game.
Can you please do that dance again?
Yes, magical Kirby's Dream Course. All right, but the thing that I loved
about that, please. I'm just gonna send it to everybody.
Yes,
it's a damn shame we're not recording that via video.
The thing that I loved about this game was it added so much more depth. One from the...
Well, they need to make golf fun. You can't get kids playing a fucking golf game. Like, you can say it's Kirby all you want, but if you're not going to add another dynamic to make golf fun, no one's going to fucking play the game.
Well, and American kids weren't going to play fucking Kirby in 1994 anyway, because he was pink, and therefore not okay.
I'm an American, just don't like golf.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
It's such a stupid-ass game.
And then the other thing that I loved about it was the ability to kind of choose where the hole was going to be. The ability to use Kirby's ability stealing thing. He can morph into all the forms of the enemies just like he can in the Kirby platformers.
So the enemies that you hit to eventually unlock the hole can also potentially give you not necessarily upgrades, but special abilities where you can turn into a tire and go straight forward really, really fast, or you turn into a tornado or a spaceship. I don't know. There's a lot of different things.
The Rock
and
was
another
cool.
thing Brent didn't get to experience that much when we play two players. If you actually hit the other player, you can steal whatever power up they currently have.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, we never ran into that situation. But it just adds that extra level of not necessarily difficulty, but fun.
Yeah.
Just to, because you can really screw somebody over.
Well, and I think
game by just stealing their shit all the time.
I think that's like the best 2-player games are where you can constantly be pissing each other off.
Yeah.
Like, I mean that's why Mario Kart is such an enduring series and why it's so beloved 30 years after it came out. Is because of the fucking red shell and then the blue shell and all the different ways that you can screw each other. Mm-hmm. It makes it more entertaining. It makes you fucking hate each other more. And that's the best part. Isn't that the American dream?
Yeah.
Is just to be able to hate each other so much.
Fair, compared to a normal golf game. To be fair, a normal golf game can make you hate your friend in just one way because it's just who can get to the hole and the least amount of hits. Where Kirby Golf, it doesn't matter who has the most or least amount of hits. It's whoever has the most stars at the end of the round. Right. So you can have like 7 or 8 different ways to hate your friend by the end of the hole.
Right. Well, yeah, and like we were playing Neo Turf Masters, and I found myself sitting there like literally doing the golf thing, like, yeah, hey, nice shot, like, you know, like there's no aggression in Neo Turf Masters.
Yeah, we were actually like helping each other.
Yeah, you're like, no, like
pull to the left, you know, you're going up a hill slightly, and you're against the green.
Meanwhile, we're 5 minutes into Kirby's Dream Course, I'm like, you fucking cock, I hate you.
Like, I'm just like, I'm gonna steal your shit. You're just like, you fucking asshole. Like, what? I'm gonna steal your stars. No, shut. God, this game sucks. Like,
spiking my controller.
Yeah, he actively said he was just like, if you steal that, I'm gonna spike my controller into the floor.
There were a lot of things that I thought were really interesting about this game, like just in terms of how it subverted golf expectations. One of my favorites is, you know, when there's a water hazard. Like in any other golf game, you hit into the water hazard,
it's out of bounds.
Right, and it takes you back to where you started.
Yep.
Or it takes you back to the closest takes you back to the closest safe spot. Kirby's Dream Course, like, no, fuck you. You hit into the bottom of this lake, guess what? You get to fucking try and hit your way out of the lake.
You have to hit your way back out of that goddamn lake.
I'm like, oh no. I think it was like course 3 or 4. And I got stuck at the bottom of the lake. And so for the single player side of it, every time you hit an enemy, you get a tomato. and you start with 4 tomatoes.
It's like your health, basically.
Right, yeah. It's
like how many hits until you fall asleep and you have to...
Right. So that's the number of strokes that you have to hit an enemy. But then it carries over from hole to hole. So if I use up 3 tomatoes trying to get to the hole on hole 1 in a course, then on hole 2, I start with 1. And it's like, if I don't hit an enemy on my very first shot, I lose a life. And so I was playing along and I was having a great time and I was like, boy, this is super charming. And again, pulled up the manual, I read through it, I learned how to do the things, and I was so proud of myself. Yay, I know how to use the special abilities, and I know how to do all the different, all the buttons on the controller do something. Isn't this cool? And I'm like sitting there patting myself on the back. And then I hit into a fucking lake. And I was like, well, that's fine. I'll just start back from where I started. Nope. Try and get your way out of this. And I had the freeze ability. And so I was like, oh, yeah, I'll freeze. And it's like, no, you can't do that at the bottom of the lake. Mm-hmm. Which actually... I'm glad of now, because thinking about it, it would have frozen me at the bottom of the lake. I'm hitting over and over and over as hard as I can, increasing levels of panic as I just watch my tomatoes go down. I'm like, God damn it. And I wound up, my first playthrough on this game, I wound up using all my life. Three lives or whatever you start with, just trying to get out of this goddamn lake. I love that this game has that level of just hatred in it.
So let's test Brent's skill. So when you're trying to hit yourself out of the lake, were you just trying to smash forward, or were you trying to pop yourself out of the lake?
Yeah, so I used the arch. Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
Because there is a good way to get out of water. An easy way. I was just making sure it wasn't one of these.
No,
I kept doing it over and over again. I couldn't figure it out. Then I have to swoop in. It's better to pop yourself out of the water.
No, where I was right at the edge of that first high arc was right at the edge of the lake in every direction. So what happened is I would get there, and then of course there's that first tile, because like you were saying, it's an isometric game. That first tile slopes down back into the lake, and so I would get out of the water, and then I would roll back in every time. If there was a way out, because I tried every different shot combination.
Yeah, did you hit like the very top of Kirby so he rolls forward?
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, again, like I had full health and full lives, so I tried every different combination that I could think of to do, and no, I was just fucked. That was like, nope, the game's like, nope, this is the place where you die.
That's rough. I can safely say I've never had that happen to me.
Yeah.
I can usually get back out of a lake or whatever in one shot, no issue. Yeah.
Well, and honestly, the answer is still that I'm a dumbass, because I landed in the middle of the goddamn lake. So...
Your fault.
Right.
All in all, I don't know. It was always just a lot of fun when that game first got introduced to me, especially 2-player. Like, honestly, I think that game was designed around having multiple people play that game.
Yeah.
Single player, while it is fun, it's not the same.
No.
It's not the same. And it's not like Mario Kart where it is still a shit ton of fun by yourself.
Right.
By a wide margin different when you're playing with another person.
The final boss was super bullshit.
Yeah, I get it.
Because it's basically just like, how fast can you shoot Kirby?
Yeah. What'd you think of the music for Kirby's Dream Course?
That was something on both of these games that I love. Like, and I think that'll be a theme. Like, I think both you and I are big on the soundtracks for games. But the only problem that I had with Kirby's Dream Course, it's funny because this was the thing that I said about Captain Skyhawk, was I wish there was more music. Like, I wish there was more variety to the Kirby's Dream Course soundtrack, because it was super fun and perky and upbeat, and it really went with the mood of the game. But after about an hour of the same track, I'm like, if I run into the motherfucker who composed this, I'm gonna shank him in the fucking kidneys.
Yeah.
Going through it single player, it got really grating, because there's some bits of this game as a single player campaign that drag a little bit, and that's okay. Like it's it's meant to. This is the era of I got a video game for my birthday, and this is the video game that I have until Christmas, right? Like, so that's fine. But goddamn, put some more fucking tracks in it. It's a fucking golf game, motherfuckers. Like this.
At least Neo Turf Master had, each course had its own. Had its own unique track, but Kirby's Dream Course, it's the same damn track for every last little damn thing.
Well,
and it gets like you about have a brain aneurysm after an hour or two.
Well, and I love it with Neo Turf Masters too. It has at the end of every hole, it switches music.
Yep.
Right. The da 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 da.
Yeah,
like that.
It breaks up the monotony, yeah.
Yeah, and it makes it feel a little bit lighter in that it's switching moods. And even the underpar music, while it's kind of minor key and sad, it's still like it's got some energy to it. Kirby's Dream Course, it did feel like it's the same. Sports games have the same problem that racing games have, which is you're gonna be listening to the same track for a while. So you have to find a way of making that music fresh and making it feel new and feel lively. As much as I liked the music in Kirby's Dream Course, and as much as I thought that this game really struck a mood, which it did, and very successfully, that part kind of sucked ass because it did. It felt like, how in the Iraq War we would chain people up.
Go on.
And just play the Barney theme song over and over. I love you, you love me. Like it's a charming little song.
You had me at, like in the Iraq War.
But it's
like, okay.
But it's after I've over curved to the right for the 6th straight time, and I'm just going round and round this same fucking dipshit Kirby little wizard guy with the fucking broom just happily sweeping away, and I know that if I don't hit him I'm gonna fucking die, and it's still the same little perky music as it was at the beginning.
At least when you fly off the track, it does like a sad little song to break up the nonsense.
Yeah. It makes it feel less like it's Gitmo music.
Yeah. Reminds me of that dream I have where I'm strapped to a gurney listening to the theme song of Kirby's Dream Course with flashing lights on either side of me.
That's when I realize I'm in hell. Kirby's Dream Course. A great game, but the music will make you feel like you're in Gitmo.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. And really, and I think that's another reason why the 2-player situation works out just way better, is because you're not paying attention to the music at all. Because you're sitting there just, poking fun at each other and calling each other names the entire time. So you could put it on mute and it wouldn't make any difference.
All right. I think that about wraps up what we have to say about those games. Do you think that's fair to say?
Yeah, I mean, they're golf games, so they're really not too complicated. They're not intricate. And I made this comment to you earlier about how even modern golf games, they all suffer from the same thing where, so you have separate courses, right?
Yeah.
You could replace the holes of any course with a different course's holes, and it makes no fucking difference. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's why even do that to begin with? It's got to be purely just cosmetic or just something to make it seem like you're traveling when in reality you're not. It's got to be a purely aesthetic choice. It's just like when you play any football game or basketball game or hockey game on a console or wherever, even modern day, the most up-to-date modern NFL game. Does it really make any fucking difference where you play?
Right.
It makes no fucking difference. And they try to say, oh, there's an X factor and your fans are loud. But it's like, if you're a human, no, it doesn't.
Right.
If you're a human with a controller, you don't give a shit if the crowd is loud or not.
Right.
You know how you fix that? Muting the TV.
Yeah.
Like, and Kirby's Dream Course, it's the same way. Like, they have, there's supposed to be varying difficulties. Like, obviously, it was like Wispy Woods or whatever I think is the first one, then Gordo's the last one. But I still feel as if you replace any of them with each other, you really wouldn't notice, with the exception of maybe a little bit of a difficulty curve,
right?
Because they all look the same anyways. So who the hell cares?
Right. It's like Populous. Like, have you ever played Populous? Like,
yeah,
and it's like, oh, okay, like this level has white and blue checks, and this level has white and pink checks, and it's like, okay, that doesn't impact me at all. I'm just going to continue playing the game the same way I've been playing.
Yeah. And then as far as Kirby's gonna be Kirby,
right?
And that's kind of disappointing. How in these other golf games you play, how the characters will have their own stats.
Yeah.
So that's what I enjoyed about Neo Turf Masters the most. Was just the skill set. I'm gonna go into an extra little bit.
Yeah, because we were gonna talk a little bit about emulation and some of the challenges with some of this stuff. You know, with Super Nintendo and a lot of these 16-bit systems. You know, it's not an issue. There's really easily found emulators and websites where you can go to and get this stuff. There's all kinds of options, you know, legal and dubiously legal. But with some of these more obscure systems like the Neo Geo, you know, you really do have to do a little bit of research. There's a website called emulation.gametechwiki.com, and I'll put the link in the episode description. But yeah, with some of this stuff, it just gets to be a little bit more complicated. And so if you're trying to emulate something more obscure than the Genesis or the Super Nintendo or whatever, then yeah, I definitely recommend doing a little bit of research beforehand. Or you can get yourself in the situation that Kirk got himself into. And
it's just kind of funny to me. Maybe other people will find it entertaining. Maybe not. I don't know. So I like to get different ROMs from
website.
I'm sure a lot of emulator users do. But they don't exactly have a Neo Geo archive at all, period.
Right.
However, they did have Neo Turf Masters for the Wii Virtual Console.
Oh my god. I love how next level difficult you made this for yourself.
Yeah. And I wasn't doing this on my big gaming desktop or whatever. I was doing it on my laptop because I'm like, oh, you know, modern laptop should be able to emulate an emulator, I guess. and then like the actual ROM file itself is in multiple pieces, and you got to figure out how to like combine it into something that works. It's a whole thing. So I did all that, and then my laptop it was suffering from very severe stuttering. Like any other Wii game or whatever, or GameCube, it would have no problems playing, but the Neo Geo ROM it just couldn't do.
Yeah.
So,
it's something about that 1996.
And instead of just doing more research like I should have, I kept fiddling with the different drivers and the different visual settings just to try to get it smooth enough to make it bearable, and I could not.
God damn it, I'm going to make this WiiWare work.
Yeah, that's exactly what I did. I probably spent a solid hour just trying to make that work, instead of just taking the extra 2 seconds to like, you know what, maybe I should just download an SNK Neo Geo CD core.
Right.
And find the proper file like I'm supposed to.
I still can't believe you got the CD version. And I'm glad it worked for you.
It worked great, because you were just like, oh, load times are... I'm like, it's an emulator. It's going to load as fast as my computer will make it.
Okay, theoretically.
Theoretically, it does.
Well, no, but like, it doesn't though. Well, not all the time. Well, okay. Depending on the emulator, some emulators want to emulate the load time of the disc-based media. And as an example, I've been messing around with, I think it's PUAE, one of the big Amiga emulators.
Mm-hmm.
And by default, I didn't realize this, but by default, it emulates the full load time of every floppy.
Screw that.
And it makes the noise. So like
what?
So like I opened
There's no need for that.
Right? So I opened up this game. I was like, "Oh, that like, you know, I've always been curious about the Amiga because it's like Europe's Super Nintendo." And so I'm like going into it, loading up the game, and all of a sudden it's like, and I'm like, oh shit, that's a floppy disk. I'm like, I haven't heard that noise in 25 years. I love and appreciate the massive amount of work that very talented people put into emulation, and I'm so thankful that it exists. But there's also times where I'm like, did anybody ask for this? Was anybody wanting...
Like they really wanted that.
Did somebody go, well, you know, if it's not a 1X CD player, throw it in the fucking garbage, because everything post 1995 is heresy to me.
Yep. To go back to the making the game work, I ended up just going to
other website
and then finding the neoturfmasters.chd file and imported that, and it worked flawlessly.
Yeah.
With a different core.
Yeah.
So, if I would have just taken the extra 30 seconds to do some research, it would have saved me a solid hour to 90 minutes of my life.
Yeah, but isn't that like the full like story of our lives, is working harder to get something working more poorly rather than just reading the manual.
All because I didn't want to go to anywhere else besides
first website.
Yeah.
Just a simple Google search with the title plus .chd at the end brought me to exactly where I needed to go.
Yeah.
Could have had it solved, but didn't. Just stubborn, I suppose. I remember. I mean, it's funny because the site hasn't like changed at all.
Looks exactly the same.
Yeah, it looks the same as it did in like the early 2000s when it originally started. It's still the same today. Except back in that day, it was like Nintendo, Super Nintendo, Genesis. And now it's like
everything
it's
up to like
exploded.
360.
Yeah, it's wild the amount of emulation they do now.
Yeah.
So I remember back in college being broke. That's where I would go to find something to do.
Right.
Yeah. I remember when they released N64 emulators and ROMs, and I was like, holy shit.
Oh, God. N64 emulation was so broken for so long. It's still like...
Yeah.
It's amazing to me how that first generation of 3D... Because PS1 emulation's been good since the PS1 was still a thing. Like, Bleem was a thing when the PS1 was a thing. But N64 and Saturn... I mean, it's still like, depending on your device and depending on the emulator you're using, it can still be kind of hairy.
Yeah, there are certain games where, for whatever reason, the emulation just doesn't work right. Although, I will say in college, I wasted so much time. Instead of paying attention in astronomy class, I was often just playing Super Smash Bros. On my my university-provided laptop. Now that I'm older, I've went out of my way and purchased the consoles, and I play a lot of games. But still, it's nice just having the emulators and ROMs.
All right, I'm gonna call it. I'm gonna say the golf episode we've golfed it between the barrel proof whiskey and the breaking into my neighbor's house. It's been kind of a shit show.
That should be the title of this episode.
Barrel proof whiskey.
Favorite golf games, barrel proof whiskey, and breaking into my neighbor's house.
Yeah.
There you go.
Oh my God. All right. Well, hey, Kirk, thank you, my friend. I think next episode we are going to be talking about 2 awesome games on the SNES, which I promise will not be the only console that we talk about. We did break out of it a little bit today with Neo Geo. We're going to be talking about Lost Vikings, and we're going to be talking about Super Metroid. And we will discuss on that episode why that pairing made sense.
Spoiler alert, I didn't like Lost Vikings very much.
Oh, spoiler alert. Metroidvanias and I are a thing.
Stay tuned, you buttholes.
So King Dedede. How many D's is in that name?
I think it's just DDD, right?
King Dedede. I think it's Dedede.
Is it DD or DDD? Or I don't know. Is that a...
It's Dedede or Dedede? Dedede? The king. The
Yeah,
guy.
the duck.
The big Birdman that hates you.
Yeah.
Website.